All right, good morning, everyone. Let's try this again. Yeah, sometimes you just come on and things aren't just flowing right, and you just go, no, don't like it. Boop, stop, restart. Today's one of those days. All right, so we are celebrating 3 wins. Or looking at 3 wins last night. Yeah, let's go Rangers. That's my unsolicited plug there. My apologies to Capitals fans. All right. Binghamton and Motor City, the first of 2 games. Well, it really wasn't the first. They started a grand total of 90 seconds before the River Dragons and Thunderbirds did. So kind of the first game. So Binghamton traveling to Michigan, taking on the Rockers. And as expected, it was a close, hard-fought game. And Binghamton ends up on top 4-3. As we go into the first, it's Connor McAnanima in goal for Binghamton, Trevor Babin in goal for the Motor City Rockers. So during the regular season, these were the 2 goalies that got their team wins. So it makes sense that they would face off in the playoffs here. First period, kind of the typical feeling each other out phase. Both teams going back and forth. There was some good flow to the game for both offenses. Chances, or shots on goal rather, 15-11 in favor of Binghamton. But it didn't seem like anybody really found their groove or really found their momentum until late in the first. TJ Delaney ends up wristing one home, and that's at 15-39. So the Rockers had the 1-0 lead. Again, both teams not really into it yet. The intensity wasn't there. I mean, it was a pretty intense game, but it wasn't really intense until midway through the first period. There was a little brouhaha that really didn't result in much, but it was behind the Binghamton goal, and pushing and shoving and taunting or whatever, and the game goes on. But it seemed like that's when the game started ramping up. The first half of the first period was kind of little vanilla. But anyway, so Motor City's up 1-0. We get to the second, and so we get Cameron Clark, for the Black Bears. Black Bears are man short, man in the box, but Cameron Clark finds a little gap down in the slot and puts one home past Babin. Short-handed, so at 8-12, it's tied up. About 5 minutes later, 13-32, it's Colin Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald had a fantastic game. He really did. Just in all 3 zones of the ice. He scores 13-32. And so now it is 2-1 Binghamton. In the second period, Binghamton really clamped down defensively. Motor City only got 6 shots on goal. Just weren't able to generate many looks or many opportunities. McAnanima made the saves he had to make. But no second chances. There wasn't much puck possession time for the Rockers in that second period. 19-19. Gavin Yates is on a breakaway. He gets pulled down, so he's awarded a penalty shot. You don't see that very often in the playoffs. So Yates comes in, tries to do a backhand, forehand, backhand deke, and Babin closes the 5-hole. No harm, no foul. The game goes on. Period ends, and it's still 2-1 Binghamton. Shots in that second period, 13-6 in favor of Binghamton. Third period, and Motor City tried to get something going, but again, they just weren't. They just weren't getting the kind of time with the puck that they would have liked. They were able to make some pretty good entries into the zone, but then once they got to the zone, it seemed like Binghamton just really tightened up, and you either had a shot block or you had a one and done shot on goal. Just not much going on. at least for the first half of the period. Meanwhile, Connor Smith scores for Binghamton at 7:14 insurance goal. That makes it 3-1 at that time. But you know what they say: worst lead, or the hardest lead to protect in hockey, is a 2-goal lead. And TJ Sneath said, "Yeah, I'm gonna hang that banner on my hat and put one home on the power play." So TJ Sneath, 12-17, he makes it a 3-2 game. So things tighten up a little bit more. 14:40, Cameron Clark again finds a seam. His skating was great yesterday. He ends up beating Babs, and it is now 4-2. Motor City kind of collects itself, gets together. Jonathan Giuliano, who has been such a great leader for the Rockers these last 2 years, he ends up putting the game on his stick. 15:57, he puts one home. It is now 4-3, and the Rockers are hanging on the hope. But then things clamp down. Not much opportunities for either side in that last 5 minutes, really. Both teams defensively just really tightened up. So Babin wasn't even able to get off the ice for the extra attacker until under a minute left. And not really any good opportunity. And the game ends 4-3. Shots ended up being 41-24 in favor of the Black Bears. Crowd of 1135 on hand. And, did they just have the last Rockers home game? Well, if the Rockers want to play another game in Big Boy, they've got to pull 2 out in Binghamton. First game is tonight at 7 o'clock. If need be, 6 o'clock on Sunday. All right, the other game, I was a little shocked by a couple of things. First of all, goalies were Colgan and Karpinski. Now, Karpinski is a great goalie. Obviously, he led the league in shutouts during the regular season this year. He played very, very solid. Coach Harry put a lot of trust in Karpinski. But this is just my own personal opinion. You've got arguably the best goalie in the league sitting on the bench. I personally, I would have put in Cavallari, but that's just me. That's just my own thing. Again, I don't want to put Karpinski down because he played great for the Thunderbirds this year. But so Harrison elects to go with Karpinski. It's Brendan Colgan, of course, in that for the River Dragons. William Lavalier, very good goaltender, but Colgan has proven himself. So, he earns a start time. And he's coming off of a shutout against Mississippi in the last round. And there's another one, another donut. Carolina just wasn't able to really generate quality chances. They got a few, but now, mind you, I was watching 2 games simultaneously, so maybe I missed some stuff, but I really only saw 2 or 3 times that Colgan really had to extend himself and make a big save. I thought most of the saves were pretty routine. Carolina just not generating the offense that they normally do because they are very, very good at doing that. But it is the Dragons getting on the board first. And first, the goal was given to Justin McDonald. They checked things out. Nope, that was Austin Doe's goal. So Doe gets credited with the first goal. And so that puts the River Dragons up on top at 8-10. At 10-14, Hugh Anderson, I was a little surprised he got inserted into the group of 10 for the Dragons, but, he said, hey, great, Bouchard, you gave me this opportunity. I'm going to run with it. I'm going to score. Puts the River Dragons up by 2. Shots in that first period were Columbus 16-10. Kind of looked like a typical Columbus game at this point. So intermission, Carolina makes adjustments, and they tighten things up very well on defense for the second period. But again, not really able to generate that offense that they wanted. Kyle Moore scores on a power play at 14:57. Not much you could say. I mean, you can't hang this one on Karpinski, really. So, yeah, it's 3-0 the River Dragons at this point. Shots in that second period were 10-7 in favor of Carolina. They held the River Dragons to 7 shots in that second period. Unfortunately, one got by. And so we go to the third. Obviously, now Carolina has to take more risks and try to generate some offense, trying to force the issue a little bit. And they ended up kind of getting themselves into penalty trouble down the stretch. They took a couple of bad penalties and put themselves in a shorthanded situation. No more damage done, but time was the enemy, and the clock runs out, and it's 3-0. And guess what? Brendan Colgan just got his second straight shutout. The shutout streak for the River Dragons in the playoffs is now at 142 minutes and 58 seconds. That's insane. When I did my preview yesterday, I said the question with the River Dragons is things on the defensive end. Can they get the big saves from their goalie? Can they shut a team down defensively? Apparently, the answer is yes. So, River Dragons go up 1-0. Shots are 37-28 in favor of the River Dragons. And, Colgan stops all 28 that he faces. Austin Doe, who right now is he's got the inside track as far as playoff MVP, or as I call it, the Dan McWinney Award. Josh Petrantonio had 2 assists. J-Mac had 2 assists. Karpinski did stop 34-37. He was in that for 57-18. No empty net goal. But yeah, Carolina just couldn't surmount or couldn't get over the hurdle, so to speak. So yeah, now the big hurdle, 2 games in Columbus tonight, 7:35. Sunday, if needed, 6 o'clock. All right, so there is that. That's what happened last night. Meanwhile, as the games are going on, I was in conversation with some other people, and it seems like some things happened. There was some clarification on 2 franchises. If you've been watching me for a while now or listening on Spotify, you know I've been talking about there's 2 markets that the situation is kind of tenable, a little fluid. There was clarification on both situations. An official announcement may be made in one case as early as next week. So we will see. I'm not going to talk about it right now. I'm going to save that till Tuesday. Tuesday we will address what's going on behind the scenes and what the Fed may look like this next year. Meanwhile, in between the first and second periods in Carolina, Brendan Riley, the play-by-play man for the Carolina Thunderbirds, had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Barry Soskin. Soskin, of course, in attendance, talking about things. And he did mention that negotiations have been going on in Danville and that a contract is, quote-unquote, almost signed. That's his words. He hopes to have the signatures within a week or 2. So maybe the Dashers will be back next year. That remains to be seen. But Barry is confident that it will get done. So we'll know. We'll know in a couple weeks. We thought weeks ago that this was a done deal, and then it just kind of dried up and stagnated. So let's keep a watch on that. We'll, again, as things happen, I'll let you know. All right, so there we go. That was last night, and now we go to Game 2s tonight. Games in Binghamton and Columbus. All right, thanks for watching. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.